Hello, Rockwood South staff. Happy Friday, everybody. It's time for another blast. All right, guys, we had a great week, even though it was a short week. And so we're going to get right into it today. I saw some amazing assessment capable literacy strategies happening this week, as well as some fantastic student centered learning instruction with cooperative learning practices. Let's get into it. All right, so in Ashley Harper's art class, this is a shot of a student implementing an assessment capable learning practice. So Miss Harper, after she has her student, after they finish a project, they always have to do a self-evaluation that utilizes the studio habits for art. And so she's got a listing of the studio habits and a description of what those mean. And then students have to mark on the sheet their level of strength in implementing those studio habits with over the duration of this particular project. Then at the bottom of that sheet, they have to share with Miss Harper what they did well, where they want to focus to continue to improve. And this particular student articulated to me that she wants to improve in the area of researching more about other artists in that particular realm of art that she was applying in this picture here. But she also was able to share with me her goal for the next time. So she shared she wanted to increase and improve her research, but she said her goal is really that she wants to begin to take more risks with her artwork. And not be so structured and safe with it. And so that was really interesting to hear. But it was a cool process that Miss Harper's kids are going through in art class every single time they complete a project. Great job of having clear criteria, Miss Harper, and for engaging your students in that level of reflective learning. Let's also take a quick look at two more examples of that of assessment capable learning strategies in practice, and that was in Miss Stout's class and in Miss Sabelsky's class. They're both using individual student conferences to monitor or to support their students in monitoring their progress. And they are supporting students in setting goals based on clear criteria. In Miss Stout's class, it was about the ELA skills and standards, where she was having her students narrow their focus and create goals for how they would continue to grow with a specific skill. And in Miss Sabelsky's class, she was having her students create goals for reading stamina and number of pages, or really the duration of time it would take them to read an entire book, and was helping them to plan their schedule so that they would be able to meet that deadline for reading that particular book. So it was goals about reading stamina. Both had very clear expectations and information to support their students in setting those goals and in monitoring their progress. And then they're following up with those individual conversations. The next piece I want to get into is, once again, how we are learning together, engaging our students in that student-centered and student-centered instructional practices. And I saw this happening in many classrooms this week. I want to highlight a couple of them for you. Miss Dedek did a great job of having her students thinking critically together using a scoring guide and work samples. And so before students were expected to write a CER essay for an upcoming test, I believe, she gave them the scoring guide and she gave them several paragraph samples of which they use the scoring guide to evaluate those samples and to discuss what they would improve on those particular samples to make them a level of proficiency. It was a cool discussion to see. And then you see in Miss Macy's math class, she's using a carousel activity to have her students up and moving and answering various math questions around the room. Once they finish that, they return to their home group and they analyze one another's responses and explain to each other how they arrived at their response. And there was a lot of reciprocal teaching that was occurring between students. That was very cool to see. And it ran like clockwork. Great job in organizing that lesson, Miss Misi. It really allowed the students to learn from one another. Now I want to give you just a glimpse into a lesson that Suzanne Shimkus planned at the end of last week. It used chat stations. It was absolutely amazing, and it is absolutely worth a listen. So let's check it out. All right, we're here with Miss Suzanne Shimkus, who also happens to be the Rockwood South Teacher of the Year. And we are going to look at chat stations because, Suzanne, you implemented chat stations just recently with your students. Talk to us about how you use chat stations to help them prepare to read Number of the Stars.
Yeah, so we are starting a class novel, or we have started a class novel. But before we started reading, I wanted to kind of do an anticipation set. And so I printed out a bunch of questions and pictures that are relevant to the story. And I had them up around the room, and I had students, as I read each question, they had sticky notes and they were responding on their own without talking, and then got to get up and move to the station and put their sticky notes up. And I kind of liked having them do that at their desks before getting up, because it actually allowed more movement, which was good for them, and had them thinking on their own. They weren't tempted to talk to anyone else standing at the poster with them. So we went around the whole room. I think I had 8 possibly. And then I have these little grouping pencils that have color and shape and number on them. And so then I had them grouped, and I had certain posters numbered and had them go to that number. And then with their partner, with their small group, they read over all of them. Since they had put their sticky notes up, but they didn't know what anyone else said yet, they read over all of them, kind of talked about any that stood out, that they liked, that they didn't think of. And then I spun my wheel of names to have a couple kids share out on ones that stood out to them. And then we read over a background page of like historical information about the book. And then we read chapter 1.
It's just awesome because you built prior knowledge among the whole class by the way you structured this activity.
Yeah. And that was, I mean, that's the point, right?
Yes.
Many of them have limited experience with World War II information.
Yes.
And so it was kind of seeing what do they know and what could they even teach each other.
Yes.
But also then some of the themes, like this one says, you know, you're growing up when your parents let you blank. So there's things in the story that are pretty grown up things for the 10-year-old to experience. And so it was kind of also some lighter themes also about, they talked about, you know, moving out or getting a boyfriend or driving a car. That's how they know. But just making them then make connections to the book when we get to those parts. I can refer back to, hey, she's walking alone through the woods. Remember what you guys said you would have done, you know, that you know your parents know you're old. So yeah, just trying to build some of that background with the different themes, the different actual factual content, so they'd have a basis when we went in to read.
And really supports them in making connections as they're reading that book.
Yes.
The other thing I really loved watching were how many responses kids put up.
Yes.
Like they did not stop at writing one response on a Post-it and just go and sit down. Like they had multiple ideas.
That surprised me. Yes. I was proud of them for that. And I was excited. They kind of asked me, oh, if I have more than one thing, should I write on the same one? And I was like, no, make more sticky notes. We have plenty. And so I mean, there was one particular girl who I think put at least 5 on every poster in the room, which was kind of exciting. Yeah.
The other thing I think this did was it built their confidence before they started reading.
Yeah.
So they felt like, wow, I know a lot about this. I know a lot. I'm kind of an expert on, you know, on this subject or on what we're going to be studying. I know about this. So,
yeah. And even if they didn't feel that way, maybe afterwards and their friends taught them some things, maybe they felt like they gained some new knowledge again, even before we start reading any of it. That maybe they got to become an expert beforehand.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, so cool.
Thank you.
Well, reach out to Suzanne, everybody, if there's something that you would like to learn more about from this chat station activity. Again, awesome way to create prior knowledge among all of your students in your class and confidence. So thank you, Suzanne.
Thank you.
Kudos to Suzanne and her students. Again, such a very cool way to have students learning from one another to build the prior knowledge of the entire classroom before engaging in that book, Number the Stars. Please talk to Suzanne if you want some tips on how to implement that in your classroom. All right, guys, now I want to fill you in really quickly. You know that one of our school goals this year is that we want to increase our students' voices. We really want our students to be able to have a say in how we are working through our day-to-day and committing to those actions. And part of that is having them understand our goals as a school and our progress as a school. And so with our advisory leaders, we kicked off our very first meeting today. That was with our 8th grade group. They did an amazing job. And I've got a shot here of them analyzing data. Here's another shot of them analyzing data because we used chat stations to have them analyze 4 different sets of data from last school year. Those students were able to share their individual thoughts and synthesize the thoughts that were then at each station to share collectively some of the most important and key points from each of those data stations. We also had students complete an exit ticket that asked them to share with us what actions will you take this year in relation to these goals. So students next week for 8th grade will have an opportunity to present to their advisories on Tuesday. Notice I said Tuesday because on Monday, those advisory leaders are going to meet in the cafeteria to plan and prepare their presentation so that they can then go and present the next day to their advisories. We'll have this in a schedule for you in the Monday memo because I know it might get a little confusing, so we will be sure to share that schedule with you. In the meantime, we look forward to meeting with our 7th grade leaders on Monday in the health room, and then, which I believe is 303. And then we will be meeting with our 6th grade leaders in that same room, the health room, on Tuesday. I'm really excited to see what our leaders are going to share with us, the feedback that we can use to improve our school, and what they will share with their advisories next week. Awesome. Last but not least, I wanted to share this with you related to our Falcon Creed. I happened to see this when I was in Maria Stout's classroom, and she and her students create a goal with the Falcon Creed of what they want to work towards exhibiting more that week. On this particular week, it was what is one intentional and supportive action you can take next week. So they're looking at doing that goal next week. And of course, as I was out doing supervision, I happened to see Miss Forsalito taking an intentional and supportive action with a couple of our kiddos as she's holding that umbrella in the rain over their heads at dismissal. Makes me wonder, what intentional and supportive actions can we take and can I take as a staff member here at Rockwood South going into next week? All right, team. I know it was a short week, but it really was a great week. And those of you who attended our leadership meeting yesterday on Thursday, thank you for your engagement. I am so impressed by the work that we continue to do, and I really feel fortunate to work with all of you. That being said, have an awesome weekend. Relax a little bit because you deserve it. And I look forward to seeing you here on Monday. Take care.